All right. So, reports coming out that the French, the French, legitimate French government, the wealthy, aristocratic, oligarchic class rulers, have decided that they've had enough with the protests, the Yellow Vest protests, and now they're going to uh, use the French military to quell the protests. Now, what does this mean for France, and what does this mean for the Western governments? So here's here's something that I've been trying to push, and I'm going to try to simplify it. Throughout the West, the issue is coming forward, and understanding of this primary issue is that while there may be the label of republic and democracy and everything else, the simple fact is that we have unaccountable rulers, and these rulers are trying to go back in time and regress the system so that they can do what they want and what they please, and so on and so forth. And the people should just be quiet, shut up, and be quiet, and do what they're told, and take it. And that is something. That whether you live in the United States or in Europe or in Australia, New Zealand. I don't care if you're talking about the Nordic countries. It doesn't matter. There is a understanding that's starting to permeate uh, people's consciousness that there is a imbalance, and that there is that they what they believe to be freedom and equality is but a farce. And so, what does this mean? Going back to the French Yellow Vest, or known locally as the Gilets jaunes, and that basically, and excuse me if you're French, and I completely bungled that, but uh, what does this mean? It means that there will be, this is my assessment of the situation, is that there will be a violent revolution, and like it happened back in history when France had kings and nobles, where the people got fed up. They had been oppressed and suppressed, and perpetrated violence on them by the government, and they stormed out with the pitchforks and whatever else they had at hand, and basically kicked down the doors and took out anybody who stood in their way, and started burning, beheading, uh, lynching the rulers, the the nobles, and other officials and rulers. And I think that is where it's going. And I mentioned this, uh, and I wrote this in comments, that this is probably what's going to end up happening. And and I even mentioned that the press and other so-called intellectuals are saying, well, no, that won't happen. That'd be silly on the part of the French government. That they'd be stupid to do that, to pit the military against the people, concerning that what happened back in history, and they understand that that by doing that, you're basically saying to the police and military that, hey, you have to you have to pick a side, and you're either going to enforce our rule, or uh, you're going to back your family and friends, neighbors, and so on and so forth. And that is a miscalculation, because enough of the military and the police turned turned against their orders, and their rulers, and basically sided with with their friends and family, and so on and so forth. And the result was that a lot of the French aristocrats and those holding power and influence ended up dying, being slaughtered, which I absolutely utterly agree with, because the only way to take care of rabid, disgustingly rabid, self important, self entitled, basically uh, basically thieves and robbers and murderers and rapists and so on and so forth, and pillagers and plunderers, is to take them out, because when you have a rabid animal, and it's a diseased rabid animal, you put it down, and that is what I believe will happen. Now, going on to how that if that revolution happens, as I predict it will, it's going to set off a chain reaction, and it will start in Europe, other European countries, and other Western countries in Europe, and will end up having the same. The governments will have the same reaction. They'll be frightened about what happened. They'll want to try to suppress it. They'll make that fatal mistake, and that the French are currently doing, the French so-called government is doing, and the same reaction will happen there, and a violent revolution will spread like wildfire. And but then that won't just be in Europe. It won't just stay in Europe, because, as I said, it's there is a subconscious and a conscious realization of what's taking place, and it will spread throughout the Western world. So that it will happen in the U.S. It will happen in Australia. It will happen in the UK. It will happen wherever Western power and influence takes place. There will be an uprising, and it will basically change the world dynamics of world power, and the imperial genocidal, homicidal agenda of the West will crumble. So that is what I predict, and that is what I am observing, and those are the conclusions I am coming to. So take it take it as you will, but keep a sharp eye, because I could be wrong. I don't think I will be, because I've predicted too many things. I've seen too many things, and I've said what will happen, and things have happened. For instance, what I said about Venezuela in a video before before this recent coup. I said that there would be I said that the efforts to undermine Venezuela and to start tensions and a drive towards war and conflict would take place, and that is starting to come up now. Now the U.S. and its allies are trying to back out of Syria, because they want to focus on Iran. I've pointed that out as well. And so that the drive to take out Iran will be ratcheted up, and that is happening. Um, so if as I said, take it for as you will, and mark me, and because I have a feeling that's where it's going to go, and I know for a fact that that is what is needed. I always state that nonviolence is not the end all and be all. That there are times when violence is necessary. There are times when a concerted and collective forceful measures must be taken to make the criminal element that often seeps into positions of power and influence. The cream or the curdled cream always seems to rise to the top, and but that's always been the case. That's always been the history of it. So, as I said, take it as you will, and and hopefully I'm right, because I do want to see this happen, because it is what is needed. The reality is that too many people are dying. The Our natural world is being demolished and destroyed with impunity, and the very viability of life, human and other, is getting to the point where it's uh, it's become almost inevitable. So that's it. Thanks for your time.